Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. John Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Astora Shishimat Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Astora Shishimat Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Ananti Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki. Naam Acharya Shilaridas Thakur Ki. Prem Sakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki. Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Navadip Dham Ki. Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So today we will be reading the Transcendental Diary, and I'll be elaborating on some points. It's on June 13, 1976, the Transcendental Diary, Volume 2, and it's in Detroit. Sri Sri Radha Damodar arrived in their bus this morning. Many devotees from Chicago, Ann Arbor, Toronto, St. Louis, and Boston have come. Driving out of the morning walk, the city appeared dirty and unkempt. with factories almost everywhere making tires, car wheels, and other components of the automobile industry. Ambarish Prabhu, a native of Detroit, accompanied Prabhupada. As we drove along, we noticed a big construction going up near the city center on site by the waterside. One of the devotees said that the new development called the Renaissance Center is being financed by Ambarish's uncle, Henry Ford II. In hopes of reviving the decaying city, he told Srila Prabhupada that Ambarish's uncle was making a $1 billion project. Here we see that a description given of the area that Prabhupada had just entered, and they were involved in some business, a $1 billion project, but it was very, very dirty. It was unkept and very unclean. And as practitioners of Krishna consciousness, cleanliness is very important. It's extremely important. In the Gita, it is mentioned, those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. So cleanliness is quite important, because in every civilized culture or human society, there is rules and regulations, scriptural rules and regulations, and one needs to follow them. One needs to follow these rules and regulations. And generally we find people who are demoniac, they don't follow rules and regulations, and they're very, very unclean. Both internally, demons are not clean either externally or internally, both. They're not clean. So cleanliness, even just cleaning the floor, the temple floor, cleanses the heart. So all those demonic qualities go away. So if you keep place dirty, then that reflects your consciousness. And that also applies to devotees. And how do we cleanse our heart? We chant Hare Krishna, and we engage in cleaning the temple like that. We are both clean both inside and outside. And when when we're doing, when we're purifying ourselves, we also, whenever we touch anything that is unclean or is contaminated, we cleanse ourselves. So cleaning is very important. And cleaning is next to godliness, or cleaning is godliness. Could be either. It could be next, or it could be either. It could be cleanliness. So this is the part of the Vedic culture. And Prabhupada, in one letter, which I picked up, cleanliness is next to godliness. Srila Prabhupada, if you are not clean, Krishna will remain 1,000 miles away. So if you're not clean, he'll remain 1 billion miles, not $1 billion project, but 1 billion miles away from you too. So Prabhupada wanted, like revolutionary cleanliness. This is said in 1972. So cleanliness is such an important quality. Just like, sometimes, Prabhupada probably said that, but in one situation where there were, the brahmachari quarters were dirty, and some quarters were dirty. He said either the dirt goes or the Brahman goes. One of the two have to go. Either if the Brahmins remains dirty, then he'll go. So either the dirt go or the Brahman go. So cleanliness is such an important quality. But Prabhupada, of hearing this $1 billion project, his immediate response was, why not Mayapur? Why don't you have $1 billion project in Mayapur? Which has been taken up now. It's a massive temple being put up by Ambarish Prabhu, heading it and being involved in it. And then The bus had arrived with a lot of devotees. They were distributing, they were giving out literature, and one of Prabhupada's disciples, name was Dumna Swami. He was giving a report of all his activities, and Prabhupada was very pleased to hear this report. He was extremely pleased to hear the report, and he felt very happy that the literature is going out. But then another devotee, another disciple of Prabhupada, named was Satsvarup Maharaj, he raised a question. He asked a question, and I'll just read it. Sometimes devotees think that when Lord Kapila teaches there is devotional service in ignorance and in passion and in goodness, that may mean your own disciples too. So meaning the different levels of nature, ignorance, passion. But then some devotees say, no, we are above that designation, we are above that. Goodness, passion and ignorance. It is not mixed devotional service even though we are neophytes. So they're very immature devotees, and these are three different levels of spiritual practices or spiritual practices in these different levels. So he's raising that with the Guru, the spiritual master. Then Prabhupada, he responds, he says, if you voluntarily do not follow, then you fall down. That is in ignorance, Srila Prabhupada replied. So another devotee who came here, Makanlal Prabhu, and he was the president of one temple, St. Louis Temple. So he said, so way that is described in the third, he's raising it, way is described this different levels of devotional service. Because not everybody who comes to devotional practices are practicing on a pure level. They are on different levels. Therefore, sometimes people come and say, hey, but how that fellow is doing that? They're not understanding that people are just on different levels. Some people are in ignorance, some people are in passion, and some people are in goodness, but still not on the highest level. So this is being raised. So passion, so forth, that has nothing to do with your disciples then. Then Prabhupada says, who is my disciple? Prabhupada asked him, first of all, let him follow strictly the disciplined rules. Then you become disciple. So he's telling him not, you have to follow these things. You can't say I'm a disciple and you're not following it. So, I was looking at the third canto, and it's a very interesting discussion, and I'll just raise some points of the different levels of devotees. We're talking about in ignorance. So let's start with ignorance. So devotional service executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent and angry, and who is a separatist is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Get it? So somebody who is envious, somebody who is proud, somebody who is violent is in the mode of darkness and ignorance. And this person, approaches the Lord and he renders devotional service, but he has so much of anger, vengeance, envy. And what he thinks? He thinks he's the best devotee. He thinks he's the best devotee. So devotional service executed in this way, it's not pure, it's mixed, it's in its lowest grade. So how do you deal with such a person? So such a person is not of good character. He should be avoided. Not of good character. So, but one can offer respects to him, to such a Vaishnava. But one should not keep company. This causes a little disturbance. So that's the level of ignorance. Then we move on to the mode of passion. So you see also people are very passionate when they're engaging in spiritual life. So they worship the deities in the temple. The worship of the deities in the temple by the way it's written in the Bhagavatam, by a separatist. And listen to it very carefully, because it may apply to us also, with a motive for material enjoyment. And what that material enjoyment is? Fame and opulence. Is devotion in the mode of passion. So you may be worshipping the deities, but with these motives. It's not yet even in goodness. And one has to rise above goodness to really worship God or to serve Krishna. So a separatist, what is a separatist? One who sees his interest as separate from that of the Lord. That is called a separatist. He may be there, but he have a different motive. So his devotion is mixed with passion and ignorance. There's two levels of nature. It's mixed. And then he wants, basically, he wants to be served by the Lord. He thinks that the Lord is an order supplier. You order and he'll supply you. So such a devotee, such a person, he only wants to draw from the Lord much as possible for sense gratification. And what does sense gratification? Name, fame, worshiping the deity. That level. So it's like that. This is separatist mentality. And then see, the whole, consciousness, your mind has to be dovetailed. A devotee should dovetail his mind in serving Krishna. And he should try to satisfy Krishna. He should align his thoughts and consciousness to the Supreme Lord. That is called oneness. That is oneness. Otherwise, separatist. But then let's move on to goodness. And in goodness, when a devotee worships the Lord, he offers his results of his activities, and he don't want anything. He just offers it to the Lord, and he wants to satisfy the Lord. That is more in the mode of goodness, but still not the best. Because it's still under the modes of nature, and devotion is above that. It's above the levels of nature. You get many people in the level of goodness. Sometimes we say, hey, he's a good person, he's serving some meal, he's helping people, he's a good person. But he's not necessarily spiritual or having a loving relationship with God. So devotional service in the mode of ignorance, passion, goodness can be divided into 81 categories. 81 categories according to the Bhagavatam. Because all those different activities we do, like we're hearing, we're chanting, we're remembering, we're offering prayers, we're rendering service, we're surrendering. So each of this quality can be in these three levels. Ignorance, passion and goodness. 3 levels. Similarly, like the hearing, the chanting. So, the 3 multiplied, by 9 equals 27, and 27 times 3 equals 81. So that's how you get the 81 different categories. This is how it comes to that. So like we have 3 levels of nature, and you multiply it 3 times, you get 9, and then it becomes 27, and then you get 27 times 3, 81. So one has to transcend all such materialistic devotional service in order to reach the standard of pure devotional service. We have to transcend that. So that discussion, then we just explain the different levels. So this devotee is still pursuing a discussion with Srila Prabhupada. He says, as long as one is following, then he said, Makhanlal said, then he is all right. Well, this is what Prabhupada said, it's all right. As long as he's following, he's above those lower levels. The lower level. Because Oh yes, Prabhupada affirmed, otherwise, why there is need of regulative principle? He is immediately liberated. If he thinks that because I have taken to, I am liberated, then why the rules and regulations? So if a person thinks he's liberated, then why do I follow the rules and regulations? Because you'll be above that. But as long as he follows the rules and regulations, Makhanlal Kundri, he comes to the Brahma Bhuta platform. Now this is another high stage he's talking about immediately. Yes, Bhagavad Gita it is said, Mamcha yo abhicharena bhakti yoga nasevite. Then he is liberated. But then he goes, and Prabhupada says, but yes, the devotee is not on that level, so he will fall down. So Makhandal sought a further definition of fall down. Fall down means deviation from the orders of the spiritual master. When one is deviating, that means fall down. He's falling down. Yes, Prabhupada told us, that is vyabhicharena. If you are subjected to the attraction of Maya, if somebody is following the instructions, but if there's attraction for Maya, Makhandal asked, there's some words missing. Prabhupada shook his head. That cannot be. Maybe in the beginning, due to past habits, but that must be nil very soon. So when you take to devotional service, you may be, like you're finding, you'll have challenges, you'll have difficulties, but at some point it has to stop. And he gives the example of a fan. And this is a common example. Just like a fan, when it's switched off, it still moves for a while. Isn't it? But then it stops. But he's explaining, Prabhupada is using this example, he's saying, but if the fan is continuously moving, although you switched it off, and if it's still going on, if it's still going on, then the switch is not off. Meaning that you're still engaging in some sinful activity. Because generally the fan, after a while, if you switch it off, it should stop at a point, because there's no currency. But if it's going on, then it's not switched off. So you're not on that level. You understanding the point? It's like that. Yeah. So, and that verse, that famous verse which Prabhupada is quoting, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochiti na kangsati samasarve bhutesu mad bhakti labhati param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So it's quite a high stage. It's quite a high stage. And then there's so much could be said about that. So much, from the Gita, if you look at it. But one interesting thing is, it says, which I picked up from. Well, anyway, it's a quotation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, comments on this particular verse. He said, therefore, instead of saying he performs devotional service, the Lord says he attains devotional service. It's just like a person keeping gold and gems with a mixture of beans. See, like you have beans and you have gold in it. After the beans are removed, Shri Radha Raghunath ki Jai. So it's like you're keeping gold and gems with a mixture of beans. So when the beans are removed, what remain? The gold and gem, which were already present, was already there, become separately available in their pure form. That's how you get pure devotional service. When you remove all that, then you come to pure devotional service. Everything is pure. It's a nice way of explaining it. I mean, these acharyas, they thought about these things, that we have to come to that level. And anyway, we won't discuss that other part. But how do you come to that level? How do one come to that level? So because these modes of nature, they are constantly troubling us. We constantly hammered by the modes of nature. But there's in the Gita, in the 14th chapter, text 2, it says, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So that's a verse from the Gita, the second chapter, 14 chapters, text number 2. But then Baladev Vidyabhusan, he comments, he says that we attain this knowledge by worshipping the feet of our spiritual master. That's how you become. When you get this, you get that knowledge, and you, by worshipping the feet of the spiritual master, then all this, this different modes of nature that is stuck like a glue to us, and we trapped in Maya, get removed by the mercy of the spiritual master. That's the way it works. So you become free, and all these, you get out of this material energy, and you start deeply engaging in devotional practices. Then the discussion continues, and Prabhupada quotes a verse from the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1, text 47, and I'll read the verse. Just as springtime in the present indicates the nature of springtimes in the past and future, so this life of happiness, distress, or a mixture of both gives evidence concerning the religious and irreligious activities of one's past and future lives. And Srila Prabhupada, he continued to emphasize the need for human beings to improve the quality of their lives by the contact with the higher mode of goodness. So we have to come to that higher level. So a day before, he met a politician, a Congressman Vaughan, and declaring that solutions to life difficulties rest with those in charge, meaning the leaders. People who are leading human society, they have an important responsibility. And Prabhupada said human endeavor should be how to increase the sattva gun of the man. Sattva gun means the mode of goodness. And that is the duty of the state, of all the guardian. State, king, government, everyone should. And if you do not make such attempt to elevate your dependence towards sattva gun, simply lamenting what will do good to you. Our position is this: now it is uncontrollable. The things are going bad. There are problems. So this, he's talking about the Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada is saying our mission is to make human society happy. Because if you go out there, you find so many people that they're morose. You see devotees, they're very happy. Despite all challenges, they're very happy, chanting, dancing. And then he started speaking about the 6 Goswamis, who were extraordinary qualified personalities, highly placed in influential men. They worked in the government, and they had such responsible jobs, and they were writing books and preaching, and he was speaking about specifically one Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami was the most learned scholar at that time in Bengal, philosopher, very learned. So he started speaking about these people to the devotees. And then he made that point that this movement is for very intelligent class of people. It's for very fortunate people. It's not just for the masses only. That we do, we're giving prasadam, we're preaching. But this is for very intelligent people. Somebody who can understand these principles of religion and apply it properly. Because they are going to guide the destiny of human society, then he urged his young audience to follow in the footstep of our spiritual predecessors. So he was encouraging them that you should take this mission, go to every town and village and spread this mission. Go out with vehicles, distribute literature and preach. But you should keep the principle, strictly follow the principle and chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Then you'll be successful. So he was describing like that. Then he got into the agent of death, Yamaraj. Now the agents of death, when they come, we just went, myself, Ravindra Swarup, went to a home, and the man is seeing somebody is coming to take him and he's fighting them. And we just went the other day on Tuesday, I think, Tuesday. And we were just chanting. We couldn't sleep the whole night. So we said, well, this is what happens. The agents of death, when they come, this is what happens. The Yamadutas, then he said, the Yamadutas had described the stages of past, present and future. And Prabhupada said, it was possible to know one's past life and one's future life through astrological literatures, like Bhrigu Samhita. So you can know this in a past, present and future of the human being. But coming to the point of human beings in the fifth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Rishabhdev is instructing his sons, and I'll read this verse. My dearest boys, all of the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who's been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night. You work hard? Day and night, simply for sense gratification, which is available even for cats and dogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. So we shouldn't be working hard like animals, because you see the animals, they don't work hard and they have the same facilities as you. They're eating, they're sleeping, they're not going to work. In some cases you find even human beings keeping animals, and you see them. Sometimes they bring their... one day I saw somebody brought their dog to the temple. The dog is in the front seat, she's sitting in the back seat, and the one fellow is driving there. The dog is in the front seat. You see that? You like animals? You like pets? You don't have pets? Good. Good. Yeah. So, so they are not concerned about, because arrangements have been made. So the human form of life it's for a special purpose, to understand God. And then Prabhupada, in that purport, he said, it is the role of the government and guardians to educate and raise people in Krishna consciousness and spiritual life. It's the role of the government. And this is lacking. Because, as we said, there's so much to say about that aspect. We can give a whole lecture on that human form of life, about cats and dogs and, I was in a program not so long ago, and one dog was coming to the tent. The dog's name was Milo. Milo was coming to the tent, and the owner is calling the dog back. He said, come back. The dog is here. So the one devotee is shooing the dog away. So I was talking, and then I was giving the class. So one person said, no, I'm a dog. I said, I'm not God, but I'm a dog. It should be, you can't be God also. So just explaining them how the dog was coming to hear the philosophy, but the human beings can't. At least the dog was coming. You get it? The lowest species coming to hear. There's so many people around that area, but the human beings don't want to hear. So Prabhupada spoke, it is possible to know the past and present and future by astrological calculations. And as we know that, previously, there were experts in this field, astrologers. And in the time of Maharaj Parikshit. And they were not that you have to, now if you want to go to an astrologer, you'll have to check your bank balance first. See how much you got. That is how astrologers are. So these people are called Vipras. And Vipras, they were given sumptuous gold, grains, everything. Everything was provided by the government. It was the duty of the state to maintain them. Because this was required at that time to see Vipras, that was in astrology and pathology. The state would take, and they were paid by the state, and they rendered free service. How's that? So that's a good system. So that's what it means by, in the Vedic times, the state took care of all these things. So the individual, the human being, had sufficient provisions at his disposal to pursue spiritual life. So it's quite interesting. Even, people knew astrology, and even then Prabhupada spoke, in one of his conversations he was talking about Sanatan Goswami. And he went to a hotel, and the hotel keeper, he kept an astrologer. So that when the astrologer, when they see somebody's coming, he can tell by that look of his face or whatever that he's got money. So the person goes and sleep. So they either kill the person and then they take the money away. So even hotel keepers had astrologers. So even so it's like that. But then also Prabhupada's horoscope said that he at 70 he will cross the sea, and then he will open so many temples and he will preach this message of Krishna. That was good. That he, so it came true. And even in times of when Krishna takes birth, then Gaga Muni, he comes and he does astrology, and he says, Nanda Maharaj, your son took birth in different colors, white, red and yellow, and now he's going to appear as blackish. So that's astrology. But Prabhupada said, we have to be, we don't take it too seriously now. In London, Prabhupada said that astrologers are after money and women. And you find sometimes astrologers, ladies go see their astrologer, they say, no, you're supposed to marry me. This happens. They see there's in a couple of cases that happened already. Yeah. Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, was a great astrologer. But he said, don't bother with astrology. Don't bother about it. But interesting, reading last night, this one I picked up of one disciple. His name was Chaitanya. And his wife's name was Kanupriya. So in 1975, the husband went and studied astrology in London. Of all places, hell. Anyway, London. For about 6 months. So when he came back, he started doing a lot of this astrological charts for devotees. And then he decided to ask Prabhupada about his opinion. And Prabhupada said, I learned some astrology and, he's saying now, I learned some astrology and I want to know if it's all right if I do charts for devotees. And I listened to what Prabhupada said. Oh, you are doing astrology. So he said, so can you tell me when will be the date when we will buy our new building for the New York temple? He said no. Of course, the husband said no. Prabhupada said, this is because you have to study astrology. He said, that's mathematics. And it takes at least 10 years to learn it. Takes a long time. And he said, he's speaking about his own spiritual master was an astrologer. And this is the statement he made, that you shouldn't go to an astrologer. He said, he was the last bona fide astrologer on the planet. So this is astrology. We just simply chant Hare Krishna. But then he goes on, Prabhupada starts speaking in, but even without this, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we could still know what the results of our actions will be, both now and in the future. Because we know this is Kali Yuga. And as Kali Yuga advances, everything is miserable. Everything is getting degraded more and more. We know the future. Like once, people see us with this garb and then they say, one time I was at the Pick and Pay. The lady put a hand out there like that for me. Not for the money, but to see astrology. So I looked at her hand nicely and I said, you're going to die. He said, oh. We know the future. So, that's what's going to happen. You're shocked. So you have to take again, birth again in this material world, suffer. So best thing is to finish your business of Krishna consciousness, go back home, back to Godhead. That is wanted. Prabhupada was speaking on those lines. But then he gave a warning, and this is an interesting warning. In warning of us to beware of the pitfall of the attraction to women, he gave an interesting definition. So don't be upset. Man and women. Everyone is after women. But then he qualifies it. Woman or man. It is not that the woman means the form of a woman and the man in the form of a man. No, it doesn't mean that. Woman means enjoyable and man means enjoyer. So here in the material world, everyone is enjoyer. Not only the man thinks, I shall enjoy the woman thinks, I shall enjoy the man. So the spirit is now become enjoyer. Just absorb this. Because for a man, it's vice versa, man and women. But anyway, therefore, sometimes the living entity is described as Purusha, the controller. Then Prabhupada goes on to say, actually, the living entity is Prakriti. Prakriti means female, so everybody is female in that sense. Isn't it? So he gives a very good description that we want to enjoy, and we have to be careful about that. So he's advising his disciple. Then it goes on, the discussion goes on, and there's somebody comes, some guest comes, and one person lived in the temple, one young boy, for quite a while, and then the mother came, and the mother had read 5 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, and she said she had a dream of Prabhupada, and she dreamt that Prabhupada, but I'll just read what she said. I had a dream about you, Prabhupada, and I dreamt this is a dream that's coming true, but you didn't acknowledge me because I didn't say Krishna. The dream now. That's quite interesting. Prabhupada laughed as she went on, nervous but excited to be able to tell him to tell him her story. And when I gave in, you did, and you asked me what I knew about Krishna, and I didn't answer you because I didn't want to display my ignorance. Srila Prabhupada was smiling broadly and he congratulated her. Very good. You chant Hare Krishna and be one of our members. Your son is also very good. So, and Prabhupada makes a very interesting point. He says, mother good, son good. According to Indian estimate or Indian culture, son acquires the qualities of the mother. We explained that the last time. And the daughter acquire the qualities of the father. So Prabhupada is saying this. Hey, Prabhupada was just such a genius, you know. Yeah. She said that her son looked 10 years younger when he lived in the temple. You know why? No sense gratification, peaceful. Sometimes people are shocked when we tell them we're that old. They look at us, oh really? I'm 65. Oh, that old, yeah. So Prabhupada recalled how the priests, they were appreciating the devotees who were bright-faced. When priest was appreciating the devotees, bright-faced. And why? Because they're not involved in material life and there's no moroseness. When you see a devotee who's morose, then you must know he's got some challenges. You know? There's an interesting pastime like that. One person, he came to Krishna consciousness, like this boy came. He came to Krishna consciousness, he was practicing, then after a while, he left. Then he came back to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, actually, I'm happy I left. You know, he was talking about Krishna consciousness, but I'm happy I left. Prabhupada said, yes, we also are happy. We don't have to see your morose face anymore. Oh, anyway, okay. So we don't have to see that. Yeah. So then he was preaching about, he was condemning modern civilization. And he was talking about how priests, spiritual leaders haven't explained everything philosophically. But the Krishna consciousness is full of philosophy. Just full of philosophy. And people, really people don't know about God so much nowadays. But of recent, we had quite a few people coming from different faiths, want to change their faith. One person want to change his faith to Islam, the other Muslim person want to become a Hare Krishna. We're having like these types of people coming. But we're just very open-minded and we speak to them in a very broad-minded way. Practice what your Quran is saying, practice, try to practice more strictly. Not with the intention of telling them to become a Hare Krishna, but just to become a good Muslim, a good Christian, like that. So we speak on those bases. But Prabhupada is speaking about scientists, how they speculate, philosophers. It's a whole mess. The whole society is in a state of mess. And then Prabhupada has got into criticizing this atheistic scientists. And, life comes from matter. Life, like after this life, there's nothing. So at one point, Prabhupada makes the point that God sent egg through the chicken. It will produce life. So why are you wasting your time in this way? Rather try to understand the person who got such a brain that within this chemical composition there is life. Because, if you say life comes from chemicals, just for argument's sake, if chemicals fall on the floor, do you start crying? Do you start crying, hailing, and making a big noise? But if somebody say, oh, your mother just passed away, how would you respond? Differently. So life comes from life. So Prabhupada was emphasizing these points, and he was saying, nature is only one of the energies of God. You cannot understand even the energy. How will you understand the energetic? Because there's so much energy. But really, when you understand Krishna, then you'll understand all the energies. Because then you'll know everything comes from Krishna, all the energies are coming from Krishna, and all these are his energies. Just like, although they may be working differently, like right now the lights are burning here. Or let's use example of a stove. When you're cooking, the same electricity is going in the stove and the same electricity is going into the refrigerator. One is cooling and one is heating with the same energy. So when you understand Krishna, you'll understand how all these energies are working differently, but the one energy coming from Krishna. But you see it differently, material and spiritual. But when you come to spiritual realization, when you understand Krishna, you know that everything is spiritual. It's coming from Krishna. So he was speaking like this, and then there's so much to say about the scientists. They don't have an understanding of the divine intelligence. They don't see things from a philosophical and theological perspective. So they are not very intelligent in that sense. Like not so long ago, there was a doctor. I was shocked. He was telling, after this body is finished, everything is finished. He's a doctor, and he's proudly saying that. But if we take a knife to go and attack him, what will he do? Why does he want to run away? Still afraid of death, right? So there's something more to this body. Just this body is just a vehicle. So people don't have this understanding. So we'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Ravinder sir, yeah. Yes. Peter, but going to say something? Nobody. Okay. So we'll stop here. It's 8:29. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Good.